CQ, CQDX, CQDX, CQDX12. Here is Mike 0 Juliet Charlie Foxtrot, Mike 0 Juliet Charlie Foxtrot, Mike 0 Juliet Charlie Foxtrot, calling DX on 12.
Mexico 0, this is N1WMN, November 1, Whiskey Mike November.
In November 1, Whiskey Mike November. Very good afternoon to you, old man. The name this side is Mark, Mike Alpha Romeo Kilo, about 15 miles southeast of the city of London itself. And I'll give you a report on the next over, but you're definitely radio 5. We'll see what the signal strength is on the next over. But thanks for coming back to me. November 1, Whiskey Mike November. This is Mike 0 Juliet Charlie Fox.
Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you for taking my call, Mark. Mark, my name is Drew, Delta Radio Echo Whiskey. And nice to work you again. We've got a couple of bands, 12 meters and 10 meters. Your signal report today, 5 and 8, 58. Looking like it's approaching 5 and 9, very close. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks Drew, and thanks for the excellent report. Noted 5 and 8. Well, believe it or not, on your second call in, you was 5 and 9 plus a little bit of red, so you was probably getting on for 5 and 9 plus 5, and with the QSB you were dropping down to 5 and 6. So I'm sticking you in the logbook today as a 5 and 9 as this contact. Today, Drew, I'm using IC-7300. I'm using about 100 watts or whatever comes out the back of the radio, and the antenna is a 5/8 wave vertical antenna, so it's quite a simple antenna. There's no frills about it whatsoever. I say the radio, I'm just checking my online logbook to see what radios we've used before. This is our number 6 contact on 10 and 12 meters. So I've used the IC-7300 before. I've also worked you QRP with an FT817, TS830S, and the other contacts was IC-7300. So yeah, we've worked a few radios, and of course had a nice contact using my QRP radio, so all good. And in fact, I do remember the contact on the FT817. It was on 10 meters, and if I remember, I was quite low in the band, in the 300s. So that's the story here, Drew. N1WMN M0 JCF.
Yeah, very good. You mentioned the TS830S suite. You've got the nice Kenwood. That's my primary rig here. The Kenwood TS830S. I do have the remote VFO 240, which I use for split. So anyway, love the radio. It looks like you might have my. It looks like you have a sitting on top of the antenna tuner. I don't know who makes that meter, the SWR meter, but it looks just like my Swan meter. Just like I have a Swan meter that looks something like that. But congratulations on keeping the 830 going. Has it given you any problems at all? Over?
Yes, it certainly has. I've had it a few years now, and it is probably my favourite hybrid radio of all the hybrids I've owned. And yeah, just before Christmas or the end of summer, a power supply capacitor went. Then I replaced it, and foolishly I didn't replace the pair, and of course as luck would have it, a few weeks later the second one went, so I've replaced that one. So the power supply capacitors were replaced. Then I noticed that I was getting full output on CW but very little output on SSB, and it turned out to be the driver valve. So I replaced that tube, and it all come back on song. And then it came up with a very, very similar problem again just after Christmas. And it's one of those things, I suspect the valve, but there's got to be a reason why. Those valves never go wrong. Those tubes never go wrong. So there's obviously something that's causing that tube to fail. So I was making it rest at the moment, and I'll come back to that in short time, because as I say, it is my favourite hybrid. And the other radio that I've just repaired for someone is the Kenwood Tango Sierra 940 Sierra. So I've been using that one the last few weeks, in a way soak testing it to make sure that when I give it back, it has remained repaired. So that's the story, Drew. Back to you, N1WMN M0JCF.
November 1 Whiskey Mike November, 100% copy, my friend. Very nice. So I got a question for you. When your power supply, those are the high voltage capacitors, when they went, did you get any indication, anything that showed you that there was a problem? Over.
Yeah, well, the only indication was very low output, around 10 watts or so, and so it was a case of open the cases. I opened the case that the finals are in, and just to check that the finals hadn't gone, which of course neither of them had gone, like as in heater wise. I then checked the high voltage on the anodes, and on transmit I was getting about 170 volts, whereas normally on transmit you should have about 750 volts on the anode. So that pointed towards the power supply, and sure enough, when I checked those capacitors, they're 500 volt capacitors but wired in series, and of course I wasn't seeing 1,000 volts rather across those capacitors, so I knew that one or both had gone, and I disconnected both, discharged both, and then did an ESR check on both of them, and one of them was showing open circuit and the other one was showing as okay. So I replaced the open circuit one, boom, back to 750 volts transmit, about 900 volts on receive. So that gave me the idea. Of course, at that point I should have just replaced the other one, and I didn't, and exactly the same symptoms a little while later. I'm assuming that the strain was too much for the old capacitor. Then now it had a new big brother next to it, and I dissected the second one, Drew, and sure enough, one of the contacts, I removed the top carefully, and one of the contacts had blown inside the capacitor. So that was it. And it's a known fault with hybrids, that if the power drops, you lose your high voltage. It's most likely the capacitors rather than, say, the transformer. Back to you.
Yeah, very good, very good. So there's a vendor in Connecticut, K4EAA.com, Kilo 4 Echo Alpha Alpha.com. Ken passed away, but his wife maintains the store for selling replacement parts. I already bought the replacement capacitors. I haven't installed them yet, but I have those capacitors ready to go. I've never recapped this radio. Also on the AF board, there's an RL1 relay that you cannot find. It's an Omron relay, and that website sells a replacement relay for that. You lose the ALC for the radio through that relay, and that was a relatively easy replacement. Over.
Oh, absolutely fantastic to know. And even if I have to pay international shipping, if I couldn't find one here, that would be interesting to know. But that is something that I have considered, is the relay, which is why I'm getting blown, well, not so much blown driver valves or driver tubes. I did consider that there was maybe the relay contacts after all those years just needed cleaning. But it's one of those things I'll get round to sooner rather than later, because I would like to start using that radio again. But I've got lots on the shelf, and they all need my attention, including my homebrew gear. And you know what it is, Drew, it's like I have too many things going at once, but nothing ever gets finished. Back to you.
Yeah, N1WMN returning. Well, I understand. When I'm retired now a number of years, 11 years, don't know how I ever got anything done when I was working, because I can't get anything done when I'm retired. But check out the K4EAA website. They sell all the a lot of the replacement, hard to get replacement parts for Kenwood radios, and their prices are very reasonable. You'll have to pay for shipping, of course. Also, the coupler, the band coupler on the Kenwood TS-830S is a common fault. It's plastic and it cracks, and they offer a brass coupler that is specially designed to make replacement fairly easy without taking a lot of things apart. The brass coupler will pass through the hole where the shaft is through some of the high voltage housings. So anyway, you definitely want to look at that website, and lots of hints and suggestions about common faults and upgrades for the Kenwood radios. Over.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic, and I will do that. I'll keep a paper logbook. I'm old school, and I've got all of that written down in the notes section. But I downloaded some time ago, maybe a year ago, the TS-830S survival guide. I found that on the internet, and that's very useful. Lists a lot of common faults, etc. So, I basically add my own notes to that as and when. But the couplers, I have so many couplers that I've rescued out of old hybrids, and they're not plastic couplers. They are brass and steel couplers. Also, Drew, I've got a very small lathe, like a modeller's lathe. So if I need to make up a coupler, I've absolutely no problems with that. I can make a coupler out of brass or maybe phosphor bronze or something like that. I'm quite handy like that, and it's only good for those very small parts. I couldn't, when I was racing motorcycles, I couldn't probably have made anything for a motorcycle with it. It is that small. It is what they call a micro lathe. So, but it's great that you've come up with that information. I mean, I would never have found that website. And also, Drew, I've got a friend who lives in Orlando, Florida, and quite often what happens is I have pieces shipped to him across the USA, and then when I go to visit, which is once every few years, I just go into his house and collect all my mail from him and buy him a drink, and he's happy, I'm happy, and I don't have to pay those exorbitant costs. Back to you.
N1WMN, very, very good, and very nice looking station you have there, really. I've been perusing your shelf. Lots of things on the shelf, very good. Have you fooled around with any Swan equipment? I've got an old Swan here, the Swan 100MX, a great little 12-volt portable solid-state radio that Swan made.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. The first thing to answer though is my photographs severely need updating on QRZ. Some of that equipment doesn't exist, some of it does exist, and there's a lot more either side of that equation that I really need to update. And the Swan, yeah, I've got a Swan 350. I've had that Swan 350 for about 3 years now, but it didn't come with a power supply. So I do have a couple of HV transformers from TS520S, a Yaesu FT101, so I've got a few HV transformers, so I'm building, and I've been saying this for 3 years, I'm building a power supply. A local ham friend of mine, G3ZPS, Steve, he's very, very big on the Swans, KW, Drake, Collins, all of those old radios, and he's actually said to me he's got a working power supply for the Swan 350, and he said if I take the Swan 350 to his house, we can test it there, so at least I've got an idea that when I build the power supply, I know that the radio is or isn't working. What I don't want to do is build the power supply, connect it up, and then there's a fault on the radio, and I won't know instantly whether it's my power supply that I've built or if it's the radio. Do you see what I'm saying? So we're going to do a test first, probably this spring. I'm going to go around to his house. We'll test the Swan there, and I look forward to getting that working, because it's a very similar radio to the KW Atlanta, and I've just sold one of those recently. KW is a local firm to me back in the 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s, and I had a lot of KW equipment, and the Atlanta was a basic copy of the Swan 350. So I do have a little bit of knowledge when it comes to the internal workings of those radios. Back to you.
N1WMN returning. Yeah, very, very good. Well, I've been scrolling down your pages on your QRZ page, and my gosh, you got a lot of radios. You do. I know you said some of them have come and gone. So very, very good. Well, pleasure talking to you. Congratulations on the 830. You got to get that thing up and running. You do. Don't let that sit too long. But I'm sure you'll take care of it. I'm sure you'll take care of it. So thank you very much for taking my call, Mark. The band is quite good today. Very, very good. Held up quite nicely. Really no QSP whatsoever. So very nice to meet you today again. 73s, all the best. Have a great weekend. Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox, N1WMN for your final.
Yeah, N1WMN M0JCF for returning for that final. Drew, an absolute pleasure as always. As I say, nice to be working you on different radios. It's nice to have worked you genuine QRP. I was actually going to turn the power down on this radio to see if you had noticed. You're consistently 5 and 9 plus with a QSB swing taking you down to 5 and 3. But straight back up, it's a very fast QSB and very deep, but 12 meters is absolutely silent for me today noise wise. 10 meters, a little bit of QR Mexico, S3 QR Mexico. It normally comes in the afternoons, and of course 10 meters was full of contesters today. I did jump around a few contesters, you know, just for the sheer fun of it, but when I was CQing I did try 10. It was just a little bit too noisy for me, so I come on to 12, and I'd say you're my first DX contact. But just looking at the clock, I see it's now 25 past 5 in the afternoon for us, so I'm going to go downstairs and join my good lady wife in maybe a small glass of something for Saturday evening, and determine what we're going to do for an evening meal, and then maybe sit down and watch a little bit of TV this evening, and just going to find out what my daughters are up to. I know one of them's just come home from work. The other one doesn't live with us now, so we'll probably talk to her on the phone. But all the very best. Have a fantastic weekend. What's left of it is a bit more of it for you, Drew, because obviously you're 5 hours or so behind us. But yeah, we're at the end of Saturday now, so just a Sunday to go. But like you, I'm retired, so every day's a Saturday. All the very best, 73. Good luck, take care, and happy 2025 to you. N1WMN M0JCF clear.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Can I retain the frequency?
Yeah, you certainly can. Yeah, take it, and have a great evening. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy your time with the lady. This is N1WMN, clear with Mike 0, Juliet Charlie Fox, QRZ. Anybody, anywhere? N1WMN, please copy 0 Fox Queen 0. Yeah, a number of stations calling. Ed, thanks very much for the call. Beautiful signal, armchair copy here. Name is Drew. I'm in Connecticut. Over.
Yes, you are talking about that. You were from Connecticut, so I had to see you say hello. The name is Ed. You probably looked me up. You see I'm in Central Connecticut. My wife and I just moved about 8 years ago from Connecticut. We were living up in Plymouth, Connecticut. I don't know if you know exactly where that is. If you're leaving the Hartford area and heading towards Torrington, it's about halfway there, right?
Yeah, I worked for Connecticut DOT for 30